Hi guys, I'm Jenna and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I help you put the magic back into writing. And happy Valentine's Day! This is a bonus video for you guys for the season of love. These are my top romance writing tips for any genre. Number one tip, consider other relationship dynamics. Too often we see just the same relationships represented again and again and again. And if that does not reflect your type of relationship, then maybe try writing in that different dynamic that you have. So things like open relationships, poly relationships, long distance, widows, second chance. These different dynamics we don't see that much in literature or in media in general, especially not in a healthy, productive way for a lot of the times. But if it reflects you or you're finding interest in it, then feel free to change up the dynamic in your romances. Next tip is to beware the tension drop after the relationship is established. If you're writing a multi-book series where the couple gets together in book 2, but the book series doesn't end until book 4, then there's still 2 books of romance left to write where they're in an established relationship. And typically what ends up happening is that once the romance is confirmed, they are together, they're in a happy relationship, there tends to be a drop-off in tension, and that leads to people being disengaged and not as interested in the book anymore because they're there and they love the romance, but then the romance kind of gets stale after the romance is actually officially happening. Best way to combat this is to ensure that there was still tension going on. Usually this is tension caused by the plot on 2 of the characters in their relationship that is pulling them apart, but they're getting pulled back together by their love. So this causes a push and a pull that is very interesting for people to read, and it keeps people engaged past the point where they're already in a relationship without you having to break them up just to make more tension happen. And that's my next tip, is to perhaps consider to avoid the third act breakup trope. This happens all the time, and we're hearing more and more as writers that people are very frustrated when this trope happens. They find it predictable and really frustrating because they're like, finally this romance is together, and then you're making them break up for really petty, stupid reasons for no reason, only to make the tension continue to happen that we lost when they got together, so you can keep having tension throughout the rest of the book. It's sort of a fake out, honestly. Rather than having them actually have to have a healthy relationship and deal with their problems throughout the book, we just have them break up and then they can get back together at the end of the book as a big happy ending with a bow on it. And so consider not doing it. I'm begging more writers to just consider to avoid the third act breakup because I hate it. Unless you have a very valid reason for them to be breaking up or for them to be distancing from each other, then don't try to create one just for the sake of tension. Try to find other ways that the plot can impact them without having them break up under like a very minor misunderstanding, because that's not going to bode well for people considering their long-term relationship if they already broke up after like a week of being together as soon as they heard the third act. Next is avoid abusive tropes. Tons of people don't realize a lot of tropes that are in literature are actually abusive. I'll link a video up above about different tropes to try and avoid in literature regarding abusive and toxic attitudes. So you can kind of learn a little bit more about what you might not even realize is a trope that gets used a lot in books that is just not a healthy thing to show or to have or to promote. Next tip is a big one and it's very deep, so apologize if this doesn't resonate with a bunch of people, but what you see as love is not what everybody sees as love. If you're used to an unhealthy relationship, then when you get into a healthy relationship, you might actually find it boring. This causes tension because the expectations that one party had going into a relationship and the other party had going into a relationship are completely different. If you've come from one type of relationship only ever into another type of relationship where the expectations are completely different, then that is a lot of tension. That is something to know as a writer so that your characters might have this tension to contend with after they're already together or in the buildup of them getting together. This is another way for you to put that push and that pull dynamic between them, of them having different expectations and having to work it out together as a couple while the plot is still going on, of different things they're expecting from one another to have a healthy relationship with each other. There's also a lot of growth that has to happen, of course, when you're in a new relationship with someone. If you're gonna go and move in with them, if you're going to get married, if you're gonna have kids, there's all these different things that you have to establish. Do you want kids? Do you want to get married? Where do you want to live? What kind of house are you looking for? How many kids do you want? Names, etc. So having these push and these pulls of, oh, we had a disagreement, we worked it out, oh, we had a thing where we were stuck in something, or oh, there's this plot that's making us sacrifice ourselves. Other things like that are creating that push and that pull that is also keeping the dynamic interesting even after they're together. But you also have to be aware of it yourself. 1, this is just good life advice, and then 2, this is something that if you're having one character come from a completely different background with a completely different history of relationships than another character, they are bound to come to some sort of conflict with each other because their life experiences are completely different, and you can capitalize on that. But also if you don't, and they're from completely different walks of life with completely different histories, then people are going to be expecting there to be some sort of tension that there now no longer is because you didn't write it. Now, if it's the end of your book and they're just barely getting together, then obviously that's not going to show itself. But if you're showing a relationship that is progressing over time, then those things are bound to come up and happen. And it's up to you to figure out how to show those things. One way you can show those things is in the next tip, which is love languages. If you don't know what love languages are, I will leave the quiz to figure out your love language down below. But there are different things for what people expect in relationships and how they feel the most loved. So this can be things like words of affirmation, things that you want to hear when you're in love with somebody, when you're in a relationship with somebody. You want to hear them compliment you. You want to get letters from them of like love letters or sticky notes on the mirror in the bathroom saying they love you and they'll be home soon. You want to get texts in the middle of the day. If it's you want to go and get gifts, you want to see roses, and you want to be given things, and you want people to buy stuff for you, and that makes you feel good about yourself and your relationship with somebody. Think about the love languages for your characters. Is it kind of a mix of a couple different things? Is it one strictly? And how does that impact another character when they have a completely different love language? Or what if they come from a completely different background? So a perfect example of this is, what if you have a character who comes from money and their love language is they want to receive gifts? Well, the gifts that they've gotten in their life, if they are surrounded by people who have money, are definitely of a higher caliber. But let's say they're getting with somebody who comes from a poor family, who's very frugal, who might have some money now, but is still very hesitant to spend anything. Well, guess what? There's going to be tension when one party feels like they're not being loved in the way that they want to be loved because they're not receiving things. And the other party is going to think that they're probably really spoiled and they just want things. But it's like, no, that person just feels like when they receive things, they feel loved. But because they grew up wealthy, they have different expectations for what a good gift is. That causes tension. And you as the reader, if you like that couple, you want them to resolve that tension and then go on to whatever the next thing is. And you want that push and that pull of the will they, won't they, will they stay together, will their love survive energy. And love languages are a great easy way to do that, especially if they don't mix together all too well, especially given the histories and the backgrounds of the characters. The next tip is the will they, won't they energy. For your characters, they don't know if they're going to get together. If you're writing something that is very romance driven, the reader pretty much already knows that they're going to get together. Your job is to make them doubt. Your job is to make them actually think, are they actually going to get together, or are they not? Are they not going to? Unless of course you're writing something that's just a strictly romance and you want it to just stay on the happy side of things, of thinking that no, everyone's going to have a happily ever after in the end. But if you want to add an extra layer of tension and you're writing something that is a different genre and you have different expectations, then feel free to make them think, are they actually not getting together? If you want to know my favorite type of romance, it's slow burn, and I have a video linked above all about how to actually write a slow burn romance. But that was it for this video, so do let me know if any of these tips helped you and what your favorite romances are down below. That's it for me, so remember to subscribe for videos every Friday to help you put the magic back into writing. Catch you guys later, so bye!